Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about basic prepping. And with basic prepping, I don't mean full batshit crazy prepping that you go out in the forest and you build a bunker and you wait for World War III. Now, I'm talking about everyday prepping. Because actually, a lot of us who lives in the more, what do you call it, the Western world, the more developed countries, etc., we are not ready for any crisis. Especially in Sweden, where I live, a couple of years ago, we have like our Department of Homeland Security, I don't know how you can translate it to that. They look at Sweden and how we can handle crisis. They had a huge report that shocked all the politicians. And what the report really said was, Sweden is not prepared for anything. We don't manufacture, we don't produce our own food anymore. We import everything, almost. None of us Swedes have no supplies at home. We're not prepared for anything because we get so used to everything is working in Sweden, we import everything, and we don't need to think about the future. And as we sit now with the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine I should say, we also have maybe a problem with China in the future. Not us directly, but if we have a problem in East Asia, they manufacture everything. So they will not ship anything to us. No iPhones, no nothing. And for us, all our food we take from South America almost, or South Europe. The cost of benzene and diesel is going straight up. We have inflation on top of that. We have the electricity bills that looks like I have bought something from Gucci or something because it's bloody expensive. We need to be able to prepare ourselves and do as much as possible here at home. So, today we just look at what kind of food I have stored at home. This is for food for like 1 to 2 weeks for 5 people. The things you see on the table here, it's not really for 2 weeks. It is, I need to buy more, but this is the basics how I think and prepare for the future and for the crisis that may or may not happen. Depending on where you live. Do you live in a house? Do you have an apartment? Do you share some living with someone else? I don't know how you live, but you need to have some place where you live where you can store food, dry food. And it has to be dark and preferably a little bit colder temperature because preserved food lasts longer if it's no light and cold temperature. Because if we have a problem with the energy problem and say the whole electricity disappears for like 1-2 weeks, your fridge and your freezer will not keep the cool very long. If you don't open it, a freeze can maybe keep it for like 24 hours, something like that, but after that everything will melt and the food will be destroyed. So you need to have food that is dry and you can store for a long time. Luckily for me, I live now in a very old house and full basement downstairs. There's no heating in the basement. It's awful in the winter, but that means I have one room that actually is an old, cold food storage like they did in the old days, like 100 years, 150 years ago. And I will start using that again, and that is perfect. It's very cold, it's very dark, it's no light. So let's see what I have on the table. I'll look at shelf lives. How long can this food last on the shelves before it goes bad? Or before the manufacturers say it goes bad? Because nowadays everything has a time stamp, what do you call it? Datum stamp that says if the food goes over this date, please don't eat it. But often you can do it. Of course, one of the best ways to preserve food is canned food. This is almost, I don't say it's impossible, but it's very unusual in Sweden. If you go to a general food store in Sweden, you will not see many of these because we don't use this anymore, because everything we buy nowadays is like half processed or fresh food. So we don't use cans anymore. But I can tell you, a couple of weeks ago when I went and bought this, the shelf was almost empty of cans. So everyone in Sweden is starting to stockpiling everything. Medicine, food, toilet paper, we're back to pandemic again. But this is a good way to store food. So in this pile I have here, it's like peas and carrots, corn, haricots vert. They have so many green beans, we call it also, but it's a straight name for haricots vert. And I also have some bottles of ravioli bolognese. So they will last until the summer of 2025. And if I put them downstairs in that cold storage and I don't touch them, they will last for 3 years. Over here I have some other things too. This is Asian's böngroddar. It's like, oh, I don't remember the name now. It's very tasty. Use it a lot in Asian foods. 2 years for this. I for some reason bought 4 cans of cocoa milk. I have bloody no idea what I will do with this. I have 4 cans of cocoa milk. 2 years lifespan. Something will do with it. And not everything was very rational. Tomato on can. 2 years. I have 3 of these. I will have to buy more of these. This is just the basics. I will buy, because everything here is like vegetables. I want to buy more cans that have something more with animal protein too, because otherwise you get crazy in the apocalypse. I also bought some. This is not canned food. This is like Tetra Pak. This is beans, different kind of beans. These does not last very long on the shelf. This is maximum 1 year. This is pre-boiled and everything, so you just pull out the water inside and you can cook them or eat them anyway. But it's only 1 year. So these I have to be careful and remember to check when it's time to eat them before I replenish the shelf. What do we have more here? Well, you need to have something for what would you call it, the staple food. I will produce my own potatoes and other things in the garden, but I will talk about that later. We can start, it's still February or early March, so it's cold. But rice is a very good thing. Unfortunately, this was the biggest rice bags I can find, 2 kilos, and that is very little. I will go to special stores we have, like big retail stores, and I can buy big bags of rice, because this lasts actually 1 year. Still, it's only 1 year, so I have to replenish. Pasta. I don't know how long this lasts, but probably like forever. This is dry pasta in plastic. Put this in a cold place and have a lot, like forever. And this is 4 kilos. More than that, I bought a very strange mix of, what do you call it, dry soups. This you add with water, of course, and you have a soup. I think 1 bag is like for 1 whole family. No? 3 portions, so this is for 3 people. And it's a mix of potatoes, broccoli, cheese and broccoli, vegetables, asparagus, Mexican soup. I don't know what they taste. I have never eaten a Mexican before, so, but back to Mexico. These I just bought just for fun. This last also, no, this only lasts 1 year, so it's not so good I thought. Maybe this was a bad idea. I need to eat them within 1 year. But good as long as I have water, we can make soup. That is easy. Also here, this is red lenses. Lenses. I think you call it lenses. They are dry, non-cooked. So, and with 1 bag of these, I can make a lot of red lenses to make a soup or whatever. Salt and sugar. And those it's like, oh, this basic thing. Yeah, probably a good idea to stock up on that too, because in Sweden we don't produce salt in Sweden, but actually we produce still sugar. So maybe sugar will not be a problem, but salt we don't produce. Everything is from other countries. This I have too little of. I only have 1 extra bottle of oil, because you need to have the fat too. And imagine that. What kind of fats do we use? Oh, we can use butter, we can use oil. That's pretty much what we use. And when it comes to butter, you cannot put that on the shelf, because it will go bad very, very fast. It has a very bad shelf life. But you can freeze it. Yeah, you can freeze it. It will probably survive 1 year in the freezer. because it's fat. Eventually it will go bad because fats gets bad very fast. So what you have as an alternative, well, that is oil. This is rapsolja. Raps is, I can't remember the name of that vegetable. Flax oil? Yeah, maybe. You need to put this in a dark room because light is deteriorating oil very fast and make it go bad. So this has a shelf life of only 1 year. But 1 year is good because you can never do that with butter or another fat because it will go really bad. But I want to find bigger bottles of this. I know I can go again and buy like 5 liters bottles, but not in the small town I have. I have to go to big city. Now we talked about the food. But the thing that will kill you the fastest if you don't have it, well, that is lack of water. Because food, well, we can survive, I don't know, a week easily without food. Not easily, that was stupid of me to say. Very hardly, but we can survive a long time without food. Water, we die very fast. I don't know, a couple of days, depending on how hot it is. But imagine if it's a hot day and you have no water, I mean, you don't last very long before you get sick. And of course, if you live in a big city, you have like, what you call it? You are connected to the city's water system, and that water system, depending on the kinds of system, if they have a water tower and they still get the water up there, then you have the pressure up that you can get water in your hose, now your faucet. So probably you can still have water. The problem with the purification of water, because those plants that clean the water, they need electricity. So if you live in a city, probably very fast, you cannot drink the water from your faucet. And then you have a big problem. Maybe in the crisis, they can come up with huge water trucks and you can go to a square and get water. But still, it's a little bit tough. For me, since I live in the countryside now, I have my own well, I have my own water. But if I don't have electricity, the water pump cannot pump it up. I can go to the well and remove the concrete lid and physically use a bucket and take up water. But my water it's okay water, but still I have a filtration down in the basement that the water goes through before it comes up to me so I can drink it. So I think I can drink it straight from the well, but probably it's a good thing to buy the purification tablets you can use, put in water, or I boil it first in case. You don't want to get sick because of bad water. So a good thing also to be able to store water. I bought 2 25 kilos containers, just in case I need to store the water in the basement for some reason, whatever it is. And also, maybe I can't go to a well every time I want to take up water. I need to store it up in the house, but I need to have it again cold and no sun. And the problem also, I need to say, the containers need to be clean, because if you use something else before this and you have not cleaned it out, you can make the water go very nasty, very fast. I have also bought, like, this is like very low price water, no bubbles, on PET bottles. 1 year they survive in cold storage. I will put a couple of these in the basement and use it alternating. One good idea to save water too is use this bottle, fill them up like to here or something with water, and put them in your freezer. If they are in the freezer, the water will be good for a very long time because it's frozen. And also, if you lose electricity, if you have a couple of bottles like this that are completely frozen in the freezer, it will help keep the cold in the freezer for a longer time. So it saves the cold and it saves the water, depending on how big freezer you have. Because imagine you start putting in like 20 of these in your freezer, you will have room for nothing else. But that is a tip if you have something big freezer. Yeah, so now we talked about food, like basic food for 1 week. The water too, you need to prepare so you have the water, because without water you die fast. Then we come to other things too you need, like medicine. if the shit hits a fan and everything closes down, or whatever happens, they cannot transport it. How do you get your medicine? If you have some special medicine, maybe you have some medicine you really need for to live, I think you need to start stockpiling that. Like, and also like normal thing like painkiller, bandage, what we call disinfection, if you get wounds, other things that big. What do you need? If you can't go, if something happens, you can't go to a hospital right away. The ambulance will not come and pick you up. You have damaged yourself, and maybe it will be like 1 week before you can get to a hospital. What do you do to survive? Other things that you need to do is you need to be able to make fire. If you live in a cold country like me do, and say we have -25 outside for 2 weeks, and we have no electricity, people will die here very fast. I mean, a house that is, when a house is hot and it gets -25, electricity, whatever it is, dies, it gets cold very fast. I think we talk about hours, depending on how old it is and how well insulated. But I think after 20 hours, you have a problem. You have a cold house. And of course, good thing is to have matches. Matches last like forever. Well, you can have a lighter stuff like that, but you need to have gas in it too. And I would say go for matches. We will look at like emergency alcohol, what do you call it? Triangakök, we call it. When you go camping, you know, you have the kit, runs on alcohol, and you can cook with it. And you only need alcohol and matches. That's good to have. Because right now I don't have it. So if I don't have electricity, I will not be able to cook. You need to have these two. Flashlights. Make sure you check the batteries. Change the batteries at least once every year. And you need to know where you have it. Don't let your kids play with it. For if you need it, you go to place where it always is and it's not there. Or some kid has been playing like this and there's no more battery. No. Flashlights, able to make fire. Make sure you have somewhere you can cook in a very primitive way, but you need to be able to cook in some way. You can eat cold food, like all of these. You can eat them cold because they are pre-cooked, but it would be awful to eat just cold food. The soups, these are difficult. You don't want to eat them cold and mix them. You want to have it hot. The rice, you need to have somewhere to cook water. Well, let's sum this up because it's getting too long video. What do we need? Basic prepping. Food that have long shelf life. Water, you need to have some way to store water. Pre-store it, or when it has something happen, you need to have some containers. Save up water. Medicine, make sure you have medicine. The basic painkillers, bandages, stuff like that. Make fire. Flashlights. Warm clothes, depending on where you live. That is not a bad thing to know where you have. Where do I have blankets? If it's very cold, if you need to have to survive 1 week without any heating, blankets. Well, I think this was all I have to say now. Probably I will do more videos about this, and soon I will start in my garden and do garden videos, and automatically the prepping things and doing your own garden and vegetables is connected. Goodbye, and please prepare for the zombie apocalypse.